Hi, I'm Kate Berard. I'm one of the attorneys here with the MAR legal team, and I want to talk to you about an issue that we've been seeing recently, which are fraudulent sellers on our vacant land listings. This is particularly happening in the Cape or vacation areas, but something important for everyone to look out for. A couple tips and tricks I can show you is through a simple title search or a tax record search. In that way, you'll be able to properly identify the seller to make sure that you're not getting scammed. Come take a look at my computer screen and I'll walk you through the process. So you get a call for a new listing and you're psyched. Inventory is incredibly limited and any new listing is exciting. But hold up. Make sure that you confirm that the person that you're talking to, your new potential client, is actually the seller. Land scams are on the rise, and a way to protect yourself and also look super prepared in front of your potential client is to confirm the seller via a tax and title search. I'm going to walk you through the process quickly, and you can join me on my screen here as we go through first the title search. I chose a property to look at that is listed in Foxborough. You can pick any property and go through the same exercise, but in this way I can show you how to get to both of the different databases. Each town is a little bit different, so it's important that you're able to type the information into Google and get an understanding that these platforms might look differently but get you to the same end result. So I typed in Foxborough MA GIS map. GIS mapping exists in almost every municipality. This helps to lay out the plat maps, zoning, wetlands, etc. for each parcel. It's very helpful actually in identifying any particular issues with the property that you are looking to market. However, it's also very important to establish the tax record using these documents. If I click on Foxborough's Vision Government Solutions and enter the online database, I'm going to put in the address. Now, perfect. I had spoken with Mark. He's my potential client. I can see, oh, Edward and Eileen also own this property. This is important for me to double check. I can see that the owner is Mark, Edward, and Eileen, and there's also a co-owner that I didn't know about from our initial conversation. This is important to flag right here, and also note the book and page that are listed here, so when we double check to make sure that the property still belongs to Mark, Edward, and Eileen, that we can cross-check between what is filed with the Registry of Deeds and what the tax assessor's office has. As you can see, there's very valuable information on this page. I can see the tax assessment, I can see the last sale, I can see the book and page, I confirm the address of the owner, I can look and see the general characteristics of the property. It's a great place to start. More importantly though, I think you should be familiar with searching the Registry of Deeds. Foxborough is located with the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. It's important that you type in the town to make sure that the appropriate district is identified. Some areas have more than one. When I think about Bristol County, there's a northern district, a southern district, and a Fall River district. So you want to make sure that you're typing in the appropriate town so that the registry that you look at will bring up the correct information. Often it's best to start with the address. The address is going to help me confirm who the owner is. It is important to note that some properties are not listed under a regular general search of the Registry of Deeds. Sometimes you need to look under a plan that has been filed if it's new construction, or you need to look under land court records if the division or the ownership of the property was established that way. So as you can see here, each district looks a little bit different, but more or less has the same search capabilities. So in this case, I'm clicking on address, and I'm putting in 6 Arnold, selecting Foxborough, and searching those records. Now you want to make sure that the last filing is the closest to today's date, that nothing else was filed after this deed was filed, to ensure that the current owner is who they say they are. I've already looked and confirmed that this is the current deed on the property, the one last filed. So I can see that the grantor here was Edward, and he granted to Edward, Mark, Eileen, and then Edward back himself. Well, what does that mean? It's important that you pull up the document. You can click on the little book right here and all pages to view the image. So you can see the book and page at the top here. This should coincide with the book and page that's listed on the tax record. You can see that it's officially certified and was received and recorded by Norfolk County. Here you see it's a quitclaim deed, which is the basic deed in the state of Massachusetts. And you can see it's a family transfer here. So in consideration of $1, there was a transfer within the family. You can see it went from Edward to Mark, Edward, and Eileen, reserving in Edward, the grantor, a life estate. So a couple things to point out here. Most so in identifying your seller, you need to understand that Mark, Edward, and Eileen's rights to the property don't come to complete fruition until Edward has passed away or gives up his life estate interest. So if you just have Mark looking to sell the property, you need to make sure that either Edward has passed away and the entire ownership has vested in the remainder men, which are Mark, Edward, and Eileen, or that Edward has decided to relinquish his life estate. In this case, you want to make sure that all 4 of those people are signing on to your listing agreement. You never want to get in the situation where one seller could potentially be left out, voiding your entire transaction. If you have any questions, I certainly suggest reaching out to a private attorney that you work with and helps you with your conveyance and your closings. They'll be able to best identify how to list these sellers on your documents. What I like too about this particular deed is that it helps us confirm additional addresses for the owners. So if we ever had a question as to who the particular seller is, and the only address we have listed on the tax records is the current property, in this case 6 Arnold, it would be hard for us to establish, if those people don't live there, that they in fact are the owners. Often this happens with vacant land. There's a piece of vacant land and the address listed is that vacant land. Certainly the owner does not live there if there's no home built on the property. It's important that you go back through the Registry of Deeds or the tax search to identify the actual address of the owner. In this case, the deed specifically lists Mark lives at 882 Mayflower Ave in Taunton. There's an address for Edward III, an address for Eileen. In this case, if you ever had a question that the owner is who they say they are, you're able to send a letter to these particular addresses to have that person confirm. What we've seen in scams recently is that a potential seller is producing a driver's license that matches up with the address of the property and the name without taking an extra step and confirming that these in fact are the sellers. Now, not to do this in every instance, but if things seem a little bit off, sending a letter to these addresses listed on the deed is a great way to double check that who you're speaking with is in fact the owner of the property. Just to talk about the deed in general, you can see that a plan is also listed here. So if you had any questions about lot lines or what the development looks like in general, if there's any easements on the property that are not listed, you can certainly use the plan book and page that are listed here to pull it up so you can see what the lots look like on that original plan. You also want to make sure that the square footage, what you anticipate, is listed here on the deed as well. Oftentimes, what I find on a deed, or used to find in private practice, was that there would be more than one lot listed on the deed. But when you're looking on the tax and title search, it doesn't always convey that information. So you want to make sure when you're pulling up this deed and doing your due diligence to confirm your seller, that you're also scanning down to make sure that nothing else sticks out as a material issue on the property, whether that be a big easement or the inclusion of another property or a right-of-way, etc. Certainly, if you find questions on the deed, it's best that you bring that information to the seller. You can usually clarify with them or with an attorney that you work with in the past. I hope this information is helpful. You can certainly reach out to us on the hotline. The legal hotline is open to all members. You can give us a call there if you have any questions. So as you can see, in addition to properly identifying your seller, you've been able to find out excellent additional information to share with your client. Once you've got the in and outs of using the GIS system, the tax assessor's database, and Registry of Deeds, you'll be able to use this information in your listing appointments to both impress your seller and be properly prepared. If you have any questions about this process or any other legal question, feel free to reach out to us at MAR's Legal Hotline.